Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chaotic Wholesome. My name is Q. I'm the storyteller for the game Body and Soul soundtrack to See Forever 2. This has been a project long in the making. Uh, I am so excited to have my beautiful cast with me. We're going to introduce them in just a moment, but I just wanted to get a couple of, housekeeping things out of the way. Um, we want to thank Chaotic Wholesome for hosting us, for being so kind as to have us here so we could tell this story. Um, I think it's important that everyone have an opportunity to tell the kind of story that they're wanting to tell. Uh, and Kay and David have been so gracious to allow us to do that. Um, Couple of notes about this story. This is an all black cast uh, telling a story throughout the ages in America. So we felt it important that we be true to that, which means you may hear some words that are typically not said out on stream. Uh, Use of the N word will be happening. Uh, so we thought it was important to do that, but we want everyone to understand our use of the word is not licensed, granted to others. So if you previously thought that you were not to say it, that still remains true. Uh, but just be with us, enjoy this. And I think uh, that's pretty good. I think we can start introducing our players and they can tell you who their characters are. I think we'll start with Candace, if you would.
Hello, everyone. My name is Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she, and I am playing. It says Thoth because that was my original character concept, but at the last minute I threw a curveball and decided to combine two deities, considering how a lot of folklore kind of gets tangled up and wrapped up in itself to make something new. So I am now called Ajath, who is a kind of deity that is made from Thoth, who is the Egyptian god of writing and of language, and of Aya, who is an Orisha, a Yoruban Orisha of wealth and community. So that is my character. They use any and all pronouns because they are an amalgamation of those two concepts. And I'm so excited to be here today.
And we are so excited to have you. Let's go. Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny. Stefan, we'll go with you.
Hello, y'all. I'm Stefan, and today I will be playing Anansi the spider. Um, as many know, Anansi is probably one of the more well-known African deities whose stories are told in many parts of Africa, and I am playing Anansi in the form often seen as a trickster. Uh, I typically use he, him pronouns, but Anansi is a trickster, so gender might change, might vary depending on the situation, right? Um, and the pronouns might change to fit that, so we'll see where this takes us. You're muted, Q.
Am. I sure am. You gotta have a Nazi.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Um, Liz, your turn.
Hey everybody, I'm Liz. I'm going to be playing Hathor, who is known as typically the Egyptian goddess of fertility, but some of her lesser known aspects involve music and dance. They were typically involved in the rituals to worship her. So I'm choosing to focus in on that and represent Hathor as a goddess of our shared tradition of affecting the soul through music and communal poetry and dance, like that connective tissue of performance of our culture. Um, I'm so excited for this. I'm excited. That's all I have to say. Wait. She, they for me. She, they, her, Hathor. I remembered. There we go.
You got there.
I got there.
Q is he, him, boy, if you're nasty. I'm very excited. We're nervous, but we're gonna get through it. We got this. We got this
We
together.
got this.
We got it.
I think we can get into this. We came in ships. We worked. We slaved. We toiled. We were broken but not destroyed as a people. And with those people came the gods. Pieces of home that lingered in their hearts, even as those that oppressed them tried to stamp it all out. Those fragments, those pieces shifted and changed. Some, like in the Caribbean, became the Orisha, some the Loa. Others lost form, but the spirit of them still remained. And so we will explore that here and in the episodes to follow. Starting in the Harlem Renaissance. The blues, the Negro spiritual, moved up north as Black folk migrated after freedom, after slavery was ended, after a war between two rival white groups who couldn't decide on whether or not we were allowed to be people. Now, with freed slaves, freed enslaved people, I'll say. They were allowed different lives. Some were only thinly veiled forms of their previous life, but others were a little different. They were allowed to express themselves. They were allowed to find art, music, dance, and none more so than in Harlem. New York City, bustling metropolis. There was a life here. There was creativity here that flourished. And we will pan with the camera through the streets of Harlem, past the Cotton Club. It was one of the big names, but until later on in the years, it was whites only. Same for a number of other affluent clubs and dance halls, ballrooms, as it were, in New York. And we'll go to Small's Paradise, one of the clubs that was inclusive. It didn't matter if you were black or white. As long as you could come in, you could pay, or you could perform, you were allowed in. So, we'll start in reverse order. Hathor, yes.
I got there.
You sure did. This is a bustling nightclub. It's active. Even the waiters are singing and dancing, some of them on roller skates.
My kind of place.
Figured. How does Hathor appear in this club?
This is an excellent question. I think Hathor, you would expect someone like her to maybe be on stage, but I think she's sitting at the bar in a golden dress that kind of gently shimmers but doesn't draw too much attention. It's kind of got a shawl pulled over it. Her hair done in finger waves close to her head, shimmering golden eyelids. Just a vision, but the longer you try to look at her, the more she seems to disappear. And it's strange if you kind of focus it on her at the bar, the music seems to get louder and almost want to compel you to dance and move and draw into the energy rather than towards her. Um, she's seated with her back to the bartender, just kind of watching over everything and looking quite at home. Probably tapping her foot a little.
Incredible. The waiters, as they move about the club, all of them seem to sort of pass by you on their way, and there's a nod or a smile, a wave, and they all seem to leave your presence with a little more pep in their step. They were already up and active, but your presence has bolstered them, and they are putting on a show, baby.
I love
Anansi,
it.
Anansi would, of course, appear wearing a style very akin to a piece of clothing that originated around this time frame, the zoot suit, in a bright purple, flashy, long watch chain dangling off to the side, and with a wide and open grin, scanning the room, taking in the ebb and the flow of both the music and the rhythms of the people as he moves through the room.
incredible. Let's make a roll about it, actually, since you're
All right.
watching actively. You can roll a notice for me.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Sound issue.
Okay,
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
One
We
sec.
can hear you.
For some reason, my sound cut.
Bear with us, y'all, as we handle some tech issues.
Tech issues are anti-Black.
They are, and on Black History Month, how dare you?
Mhm.
Okay. While we work on getting Stefan back in order, Ajath, where are you at?
Ajath is holding court in the VIP section. They are a very kind of full-bodied person, statuesque at the same time. They have very full hips and thighs, a little bit of a belly that's kind of peeking out from under their long, beaded, kind of straight up and down flapper style dress. Um, It's a really bold red color, and it kind of drips down into like a black at the bottom. They have a black kind of mink on their shoulders, lots and lots of jewelry that's kind of all over them that looks like it's from a mix of time periods. Um, they have a little bit of like a bob haircut, as was normal around that time. A little bit of finger waves to the to make some fullness to it. And when you look at their face, they have beautiful black features, broad nose, full lips, but they have a very kind of square and prominent jaw to the point where they're giving femme because of their outfit, but their actual affectation looks more androgynous. Um, she has a big, bright smile on her face, and he's surrounded kind of by people who are a mix of individuals. Some of them look just as wealthy. Um, some of them look like they might be there just to see her. They're in clothing that looks like maybe they don't have the most money in the world, but they are clutching like pads and pads, like wads of paper, to them, trying to kind of pawn those off to her as she's sipping her champagne. Um, they have a long cigarette that they're kind of gesturing around with. And they keep the drinks flowing as they kind of start looking through these sheafs of paper, and kind of excitedly giving feedback to people who want it, while attempting to really like enjoy the music. It's kind of like a frenetic scene a little bit. Um, but when you stop and really gaze at it, you can tell that she's not drunk. Like she's partying, and like he looks elated and exuberant, but they are in complete control of their surroundings, as they fix their little Cuban heel stockings and continue to uh, jive and get crazy with the people in their booth.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
I have a question for you. Do they have a favorite drink?
I think champagne is their
Um,
drink.
We love the bubbly.
GM, can I send champagne to the VIP room
Oh, of
for him
course.
specifically?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do that. Just
I,
quietly, and I'll sort of move away from the bar, maybe lean up against a wall so that if you were to peek around the VIP curtain, you'd see me, and then I kind of disappear around a corner.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that as you send that over, and she goes to look out to see. Do you send a card? You have like a little note that it's from you.
Oh, yeah, I'll send a card.
Okay. Um,
Um,
wherever you're standing,
mhm.
you can see them flick the card open and see your name, and they just get even more like ebullient than they were before.
I'll just do a little happy shimmy and then tuck around the corner.
Incredible. Well, Hayath, you are absolutely just enveloped in this energy. It's a high almost. And you control the flow of chaos around you, taking stock of what these people have to offer.
I think
It's
she also
slightly. Go
I
ahead.
think she also slides there's money that changes hands.
Oh, of course.
She takes um like peels like 20's off of the stack of money that's inside of their clutch, and he just kind of slides it over to people. Like after he finishes reading, he like if he likes what he reads, they slide it kind of hand over the top of the money
Mhm.
so that people aren't wise to what they're doing, and then
Right.
send that person on their way and like welcome the next person in.
Incredible. Incredible. You are going through, you realize that a piece is handed to you from not the person that it's from, if that makes sense. Like someone has slipped a piece of work into the rotation.
I feel like it is their natural talent to be able to detect that level of bullshit.
Hmm.
If words come to them that don't belong to the person that's handing them over, I feel like alarm bells kind of go off. And that immediately, either, depending on how good it is, if it's very good, they take note and they follow up with that person later to find out who really wrote it. And
Oh,
if
for
it's
sure.
bad, they get thrown out of the club.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
there's a snap and bouncers come and that's it.
Right. Okay, we're gonna hope that asking for a notice roll doesn't cause your things to crash.
You can't perceive things or you get kicked out.
Right, or right. Will not be
Okay.
seen on Black History Month. Go ahead and roll a
Let's
notice
see.
for me.
Notice roll. I have a +2. Oh no.
Oh dear.
That's a +1.
Hey, that's still okay.
Okay.
That's still all right. So you're looking. You see a young man, sort of off to the side, like not in the VIP, but like could get in at least enough to pass it on into the flow of things.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sort of sitting or standing, waiting, trying to look as nonchalant and inconspicuous as possible. But you've noticed, you see the anticipation,
Mm-hmm.
the hope.
Do they look does he look hungry? Not necessarily like in a physical, like starvation kind of way, but like in a determined kind of way.
Absolutely. And I think it should be noted that it's that determination, that drive, that need not to be recognized, but like clearly he's heard of your effect on people, on your impact, and apparently whatever he's trying to do, it's important.
Okay. I make eye contact and I start preparing myself to walk over there. I know Stefan is back, so but I start
Technical
preparing
issues.
myself to walk over there as we
Incredible.
get him introduced. Yeah.
Wonderful. So you begin to make your way, and then we hand back over to Anasi.
I'm back.
Okay. How was that notice roll? They took you out, so.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's kind of knocked me out of the box. 1 second, I need to pull the dice roller back up.
Sure.
You perceived so hard that it just took out all your senses.
It just knocked me right out of reality.
Yeah.
I got pull my character back up. So I've got a mediocre on the roll, and my notice is a fair +2. So
Okay. That's good.
All right.
So you see the different players here, both the mundane and the divine, as it were. Like you see Ajath holding court in one of the VIP sections. You see Hathor just moving about or trying to not be perceived.
okay.
Their energy is filling the place. You also see at one of the tables, like sort of in the main section, a very large man, a very brolic man, sitting next to a beautiful woman in yellow.
Okay.
He looks rather like he has just gotten off work. He's got the white shirt, the sleeves are rolled up. It's not a crisp white, but the power that comes off of him is unmistakable. And you know, kin knows kin.
Yes.
Those two are divine in some way.
All right.
Now, was there anything in particular you wanted to find out, get into?
I see that court is being held, as you said. So I'm going to take an interest in that and move over a little bit closer and put an ear to what's going on.
Okay, very good. You actually see Ajath getting up to go speak to someone that is not in the VIP section, like right outside it.
Being of the curious nature I am, I'm going to kind of watch that interaction and see if I can tap into what's going on.
Wonderful. Then we'll go back to Ajath.
I think they walk over to that young man. Were you looking for me?
Not looking for you per se, but what I've seen you do for others.
Well, then, you're looking for me. She smiles an even bigger version of her already bright smile. It's not threatening, but it does look very sharp.
There. Then yes, I'm looking for you.
What do you have for me, sweetie?
I want to tell the story of the people, not just the clean-cut version that a lot of my other contemporaries want to.
I'm listening.
I want us to be able to tell the truth about what it means to be black in this country now.
I see.
I've got a few pieces.
And what do you do? Are you more of a writer? Are you a scholar? Are you an artist? What's your medium?
I'm a poet.
Oh. I don't know about wide release with that kind of truth telling. I mean, a lot of the people that are going to be looking at this stuff aren't necessarily proud of what they've been doing to us, if you know what I mean.
No, I imagine not, but it's at least worth a shot, don't you think?
I do. Tell me more about your stuff.
I brought a few. And he will hand over a book of poems.
As I look through, do I get the sense that what they're trying to do is going to be dangerous? And does the work actually seem good?
Yes. Well, the first line you see is what happens to a dream deferred. So.
His eyes light up as he takes it in, and he bites his lip as tears start to well up as he's going from page to page. She kind of glances up at him in between each one, just to kind of like measure the look on his face. I think I can help you. I know I can help you. We need wealth in this country. It's something that they tried to take from us and keep us down. But the more money you have, the more access you have, and that's where I come in. I'm looking at these, and, well, young man, they're quite good. Are you ready for how hard it's going to be? The backlash.
Ah, well, I'm used to it. I'm ready for more.
Hmm. Do you mind if I take these with me? Sleep on them a little bit?
Of course.
I'll reach out to you when I'm ready.
All right. I'm Langston.
Yeah.
Ew. Shake your hand.
She holds on a little bit too long just to see if discomfort will rise or acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah, I think she finally lets go and they make their way back to the table. Um, and they glance over one time to give reassurance as they kind of just go back to their party, like super loud, like, everyone, please, more champagne. Let's go. Come on. Have you seen Hathor?
Uh, Langston will move on from there, sort of filtering back into the crowd at the club. And I will say, at least for the rest of the night, the pieces are fine, but nothing hits like Harlem. So, my other two, Hathor, you've been hiding. Are we still doing so?
I wouldn't say hiding. Hiding implies I don't want to see my friends. I am strategically disguising myself amongst the participants of the club because it's not about me, it's about the music. And I think I I think there's a just the slightest hint of sadness as I'm sitting there watching at the bar. Like they're like someone who is so close to doing something that they want to do, you can tell they want to get up and do something else. Just sitting there tapping my foot, occasionally looking over at the VIP section, um, just seeming interested.
Interested but not acting on it.
Um, Maybe, yeah. Just kind of looking out for anything interesting. If I see, trying to think of how to say these words out loud. If I notice any dips in the energy and the music, I might wave my hand a little and see if that fixes itself. But just kind of sitting like an idle bird off to the side.
Okay. I think you notice, while there's not a lull, there's something about tonight that could use a particular touch.
A
There's,
particular touch, you say?
yes, it's like you're at the precipice of one of those really big nights.
Well, I'm gonna have to do something about that. Is this the kind of place with a microphone, or just a place with a band?
I mean, band, microphone, dancers.
Okay, all right, all right. I think I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna nod at the bartender, kind of mouth a little thank you over the music. Um, and I'll start just kind of making my way through the crowd. If I get swept up in a dance, I'll go with it and then kind of pass somebody off as a partner. Um, and I'm gonna sidle right up to the stage. And who's playing? Who's up on the stage, kind of holding down the fort right now?
Uh, right now, it's just like the usual band.
Okay.
No big performers right this moment.
Well, I'm gonna kind of gesture for a couple of them to lean down to me, and I'm gonna lean up on the stage like as far like half of my body is on the stage, and my legs are just kicking. And I'm gonna whisper some things to them, and then I'm gonna just kind of run my hand over theirs and just kind of nod and wave at them as I back away. And let's see if the music kicks up a little bit. If I can inspire them, I don't know if that's a thing I could do. Love to inspire them to be better.
Okay. Let's see. I believe that would be a rapport roll.
Hell yeah, I'm good at that. Um,
Incredible.
I I don't know if this is gonna help me. I have rapport things. I have stunts. Let me
We
see.
love a stunt queen. Let's go.
I might have to stun on him a little bit. Oh, this is gonna help me. Never mind. It's fine. I'm just gonna take my +5 and get in here. Okay, so I have a +3 on the die, but I have a +5 in rapport.
Incredible. Incredible.
Cool.
Okay. Well, you whisper to the band. You put out that energy, trying to inspire them,
Mhm.
and they kick it into high gear. They're playing,
Nice.
and then since that was such a high roll, Stefan, I'll add. You can add a little bit of chaos, or bring your little trickstery energy into this.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
I am going to sidle over and find, I am sure, the kind of place this is. It sounds like there might be some loose instruments lying about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I am going to pick up an instrument and join this jam session and add a little extra riff to this.
Amazing. You all have this club feeling absolutely electric. You are, you can feel with the mixture of people, a unity, a joy that you wouldn't get in many other places. You even have, as you're going later and later into the night, you see some of the folk from the other clubs, the Cotton Club and Connie's Inn, folk like the Duke come here, Smalls after their performances, Lee Armstrong, and they get swept up in the energy.
I'll make sure I have a dance with my boys.
Incredible. Ajath, you are taking in this energy, working to spread your influence behind the scenes, working while you're still playing to get things in motion. You've got the wealth and you have the influence. You've seen someone who can advance the intellectualism of Black folk without having to trim up or shape up the image. There's a truth to it. I think all of you can feel in this moment a sense of home that once was. Feel a bit more like yourselves back from when you were in the motherland with these people. And I think We'll start with Ajath. Back when you were Thoth, you you weren't in the same situation. They didn't have clubs in Egypt, but this is something that is an echo of a previous time.
I feel like it takes them back to even before they were Thoth to um, the ancient civilization of Kush as well, and the drums that would pound during their celebrations, and the rituals that they would do, and the dances that they would do, and the written word. A lot of it lost to time. He still holds all those memories within him. Um, the kings and queens of the time, the societies, the excellence that flourished there, all of the inventions that those ancient civilizations, the Egyptians, invented. They were there the first time anyone ever concepted and conceived of chess. The first time that someone made the connection to create hieroglyphics. She was right there. And this moment just feels like a waterfall of all of those past memories that have come to create something very new and different, but also extremely familiar and extremely, I don't know, indelible.
It's hard to put words to it, but you can feel it sort of in your very bones. And I think as Ajath is having that moment, the band, the drummer, is going in on a major drum solo. And the hard hits remind you of the drums back then, and those sort of blend with the drums Hathor hears.
I think I hear the drums and a similar memory kicks in. But I think also as the sound sort of mutes itself, not from virtue of being overwhelming, but just from taking it in, I think I also hear the bartender shaking across the room. And as Hathor spins and kicks and shakes your hips, they have around their neck, it's like a golden necklace of a rattle. And that sound, as they kind of tilt their head up to the ceiling and just spin with their eyes closed, takes her back to similarly, takes her back to rituals that people would do. That sound usually heralded groups of really anybody, but often women who sought to start families, who sought to ignite something in their soul, in their spirit that would bring them the prosperity, not just the physical fertility, but the spiritual fertility to start families, to weave a legacy, to plant roots. And I think as Hathor bends under the arm of a waiter and then passes into somebody else's arm and kind of just ping pongs around the room, she's reminded of this and is almost a little bit glad to not be a statue looking down and to actually be in the mix of it. Although she's not quite good at it yet.
I think for a moment, as you are bobbing and weaving through the crowd, you lose yourself. And your form isn't just in one body, it is within the entirety of the crowd. The dancers are you dancing. The music is your heartbeat. You are here in this place. and then you remember yourself. You return, but you still feel connected to it.
I will notice that I've done this, very quietly go, oops. And then I will, kind of making half mumbled excuses, spin myself off the dance floor and try to find somewhere against a wall I can retreat to, and go back to safely watching instead. I've done
Amazing.
too much.
No, never too much. My brother Anansi.
Yes, I think for Anansi, there's this connection to, like everyone else here, a time before, a uh, a time that was in many ways simpler, but in this place, simpler has come to take on a negative connotation, that of the primitive being the uneducated and the less than. But in that time, simpler meant being unfettered, unchained, being free, being able to have a connection to what was around you without the noise and the bustle, and just being able to get into the sounds of nature intermingling with the music. And that's the kind of feeling that Anansi is tapping into playing this now.
Incredible. Incredible. So you all are fully just embraced in this energy. You dance the night away, party the night away. Man and God alike see the sun rise and bid it farewell as they find rest wherever they may go. You, of course, as gods, don't need sleep. So you all can go about your ways. When you're not partying, when you're not busy holding court in the VIP section or drumming up the energy of the club, what would you all be doing? I know Anansi's up to no good, obviously. But do they have a day job?
I think
Anansi,
Ayath,
no, go ahead, go.
Ayath, I think, heads back to their place. They have a little brownstone. There's a family that has some kind of descendants from the people that they were close to way back when. They've managed to try to kind of stick around their people. A lot of that kinship and a lot of that bond has been lost over generations. Part of the assimilation into this country, the forced assimilation into this new world, was giving up those pieces of familiarity and those pieces of family to make way for patriotism and conformity to stay alive. So they don't reveal themselves. They're just kind of a friendly lodger. Um, but they own quite a few of these brownstones, trying to enrich this neighborhood and make sure that it stays black, and it stays a place that is a nesting home for people who can hopefully rise up and create their own wealth. Um, they head upstairs to a very cozy apartment. You'd think for all the flash and the shininess of who they are when they go out. When it comes time for repose and for them to sort of take time for himself, he prefers a very cozy, very well furnished apartment, little fireplace, a little bit of a bathroom. It's like the attic has been converted almost. Um, a small window that looks out onto the city, and access to the terrace, and like on the roof, and like a little garden up there. Um, I think Ayath, their apartment is wall to wall books. Books like little bins of scrolls, parchment, paper, a typewriter. You can tell that the person that lives here must have money because of the quality of everything, not necessarily the quantity. Um, there's a chaise longue by the window, for them to kind of sit and chill and read in. In their little kitchen, they make themselves a cup of tea and kind of get to going through the stacks and stacks of paper that they've accumulated. Um, their bag that they have with them appears to be just kind of like a cute little like beaded kind of envelope style purse, but they're able to pull all of these manuscripts and sheafs of paper, reams upon reams out of it, and stacks them up in neat little piles, little books that people have given them, journals. Um, and every time they return home from one of these outings, that's how they spend their time. They look through them, they read them, and then when they find something that really dazzles them, they take the work back to its owner, and they sit down and speak about it. Once in a while, they get things that the bulk of the items that they're reading are not fantastic. Maybe there's 4 or 5 standout pieces, not enough to make a book, or not enough to have a fully fleshed out book of poetry or novel. And they trade with their other gods. So Anansi might hear from me one day, and I might have a short story for him that he can take to create, a movie eventually when that comes time, or a radio or a teleplay or something like that. Hathor might hear from me if I have song lyrics, like a poem that is beautiful, but perhaps not enough to make an entire book. So I pass her the lyrics to songs. Um, and as they kind of go out and they walk around the city, there are other people that they also pay attention to. Um, the Jewish family that runs a little bodega around the corner. The other, Chinese immigrants that live there. Trying to kind of make a connection with them and promote that unity, outside of just their own community.
Very good. Love that. I think you have a very you have a plethora of potential items from last night, especially after the swell. You definitely have a lot to work with, and of course Langston, the one from Langston, still comes
She's
up.
the most excited about that. I think she spends hours poring over it, reading it multiple times, writing notes, and just can't wait to take the next step with that new author.
Incredible, wonderful. Anansi.
Yeah, I think Anansi definitely does not have a day job. Anansi spends time in the gambling parlors and the racetracks and the back alley dice games, the pool halls, moving around in the places where luck brings people crashing down, but also brings them windfalls. And I think when Anansi passes is a time when maybe a little bit of luck changes for some people. Anansi is, of course, a greedy little spider, and so always takes a cut. But there's always something also in there, lessons to be learned and lessons to be taught as people learn either they get lucky or maybe they learn that it's time for them to move on to other things and learn a lesson, maybe not to fall into the trap of money and gambling, and maybe be redirected sometimes subtly into more productive pursuits that don't trap them in sort of the cage that everyone is caught in this money driven commercial society, that greed and avarice that creates the necessity for people to be enslaved or oppressed. And sometimes Anansi kind of teaches that from the side, but sometimes Anansi is the example of what not to be, of what not to do, to teach those lessons through pure example of what it looks like to fail and how bad decisions can lead to ruin. And so those are the places where Anansi is seen popping up throughout the day, moving from place to place. And sometimes things may disappear. Sometimes things may disappear from Anansi's divine brothers and sisters that may find their way to others who can use them in a new way or a different way. Perhaps an unfinished song or the beginnings of a poem might vanish from a brother or a sister's desk or drawing board and might appear in the notes of a young upcoming poet as things are shifted around the board.
Incredible. Hathor.
Well, I think trying to think of what I want to do first. I have a list.
We love a list.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go see my son. I think Horace and I have a very strained relationship, a very complicated relationship, but just seeing him is important to me. I have not raised him in some time. That is Isis's job, as are all of my other jobs. And having been sort of almost pushed out of being a central character and to the fringe, I will embody that in the best way I can. So I'd like to think maybe I find him like a tailor shop, getting a suit fitted or doing something of the status that befits such a man. And I'll just kind of pass by the window, see him, adjust my mink on my shoulders, and keep walking. Once I've done that, I will tuck into a nondescript brick building somewhere. And as I walk up the rickety steps, the glass door reads that it's a recording studio. This is my studio. And inside are a group of young Black men waiting to record a record. This is a quiet place. I mean, I think I like to see some traffic in here. I think anybody, any young Black spirit with their ear to the ground knows what we do in here, but it's just about getting in the door. And I try not to make that a hard thing to do. So I will drop my coat, hang it up, roll up my sleeves and just sort of start working with them. I think that's how I spend the majority of my day. If I see maybe 2 to 3 appointments today, it's just listening to people who love this art play and then coming out to help them pull the best parts of themselves into the music and stop them from getting in their head about it being printed, and more so just letting it flow and letting the record capture what's already there. Um, and then when my sessions are over, I think I'll pass by to see Horace one more time wherever he is. And I'm going to go get a beer because I'm sad.
Yeah, well, we're gonna hold off on that beer.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I have a list. I told you.
Okay. I think you see him at a doctor's office. Like
Is he okay?
his doctor's office.
Oh, okay.
You know, Horus is one of the Egyptian gods known for healing.
Yeah.
So I think you've passed by his office twice now, and the second time he comes out.
Oh, hi.
Could at least come and say hello.
I try not to bother you.
So you stalk my place of business.
Stalk is a strong choice of word. I prefer to say observe at a distance.
I am always watching. I see you. Next time,
I'm grateful.
just say hello.
I will do better about coming to actually see you.
Are you well?
I think I smile, but it doesn't reach my eyes. I'm just fine, honey.
That was not the truth.
No, I'm not well. Um, it's difficult, has been for a very long time, but it's difficult to be pushed to the margins and then find the margins are too small for you. So I am making do, staying out of the way of the big fish, as they say, out of your other mother's way. And music is everywhere. We're in a time of music and dance and life and celebration. So I will be well with time.
The thing about the margins, we're not in the same margins we were in before. This is a new world. You have opportunity here. We all do.
I will try to remember that. You've always been wise. I will adjust his tie. He does not need it.
Correct. He does not. He does not fight you on it, obviously.
It's good to see you.
Likewise.
I will. And I think I've probably done this a few times before. It's probably every time he catches me and confronts me about not coming in, I will slip the business card for my recording studio into his breast pocket, even though I know he's probably not going to show up. And I'll just kind of pat it, put my hand on his cheek, and then I'll just keep walking to wherever I can get a beer.
go and get you a beer. The
Y-
first place that you end up going to is the Cotton Club because it was closest.
Okay.
Uh, and this is Prohibition era, so it's
Oh, I
not
know.
really, yeah, it's not really all that open to get a beer. But the Cotton Club
I said
is,
what I said.
no, for sure, no,
We
for
don't
sure.
respect laws here.
Right. I'm gonna say you were just at Small's Palace, Small's Paradise. There we go.
Mm.
They had drinks a flowing.
Oh, of course.
Prohibition didn't actually stop anything. They just changed how it was produced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you are at the Cotton Club. You ask for a drink. The Cotton Club has recently begun to allow people to allow people of color in,
Mm.
but it's still a little tight, a little tense when you come in. The person goes, well, the bartender goes, "What can I get for you?"
You have anything good in the back for
What
me?
question is that? Of course I do.
Yeah. Well, you know what surprised me? I've got time and I've got money. Surprise me.
You got money. Who'd you steal it from?
Funny.
Goes to the back.
I'll just sit and look around. Is it I don't know what time of day we're at here, but what's it like right now?
Seems like you had a busy day. There was recording sessions.
Yeah.
This is, early evening. You can see uh, Duke Ellington up with his
Mm,
band. They are practicing for their show tonight. You
okay.
know that it was him that actually convinced the people that own the Cotton Club to allow for integration.
Nice. I'll I'll just kind of as I wait for whatever's brought to me, I'll just kind of listen, hum along, even though it's not necessarily probably music that's been written. I imagine they're still kind of warming up, just feeling the flow, but somehow I'm keeping up with them.
Oh,
Um,
for sure. And I think as you sort of hum along, it starts to become a song.
oh,
And one of my absolute faves, "In a Sentimental Mood." Yeah, starts to play
yes.
as you sort of hum and you bring your melancholy to it, but it's beautiful and it feels like it should be raining outside,
Yeah.
and so it is.
I'll just take that in and the sound of the rain against the roof and the walls. Um, and I'll whatever drink is handed to me from the back. I'm sure it is offensively strong.
Absolutely. It also took him far longer than it probably should.
That's okay. I forgive him. I'll just yeah, I'll just sit. I don't I have offered what I can for the day, and I think I'll just kind of watch Duke and his band and go back to my usual sidelines act.
Incredible. I think we will find our two others there as well.
Oh,
Just sort of serendipity working, chance or fate. Ajath, you were told that you could find one of the people that you'd been working with there. And Anansi, someone owes you a drink. in your playing throughout the day and you're gambling, you've won something, and someone was like, I'll make honest, I swear, come to the Cotton Club.
That works.
So you can feel, both of you, when you come in, you can feel that lull, that melancholy. And it's coming off of Hathor, and you can tell that the band is feeling it. And while it is beautiful, it is heavy.
Do we enter through the front or the back of the building?
That is up to you two, how you want to go about it.
Ajath knows the rules, especially being freshly integrated. And I think they spend a good 10 minutes in front of this place, looking at it, kind of looking at the people on the street, and they give it a moment until they see just kind of a gaggle of black people passing by. And they use that cover to come in the front. And as they see kind of like a busboy or somebody prepping for the afternoon and evening, kind of go to protest, they kind of just sweep past that person and take their seat at the bar. Their jaw is set. Muscles are clenched. Fists are tight at their sides. But as they kind of sink into the seat, kind of settle in on their stool and see those familiar faces, I think they slowly start to unwind a little bit. Their brow kind of smooths, and that gilded smile comes back. And they throw some money down on the bar. Whatever they want. Anything. It's nice to see you both. How's tricks? She looks at Anansi pointedly.
Anansi smiles widely. Having come in through the staff entrance, slid in along with everyone who was doing the work that keeps this place running behind the scenes, the place where Anansi likes to be, comes in and smiles widely and looks and says, "Not bad, sister. Not bad at all. Things are as they are."
Ain't that the
Of course.
truth?
But we work with what we have, do we not?
We do the best with what we have, and I gotta say, our best is elegant on its best day and fine on its worst days. Despite this lack of civility in this world, I think we're making some serious progress. I remember just, 50, 60 years ago, I was covered in mud, helping somebody write down everything that's happened. Frederick, wonderful man, brilliant, didn't deserve that. None of us did. And now we've got this, co-opting our places, our music, our language. How much longer do you think that's gonna go on? They don't like us, but they want to be us? It doesn't make sense to me.
It certainly says something about this place that we are popular, but we are not a part of what is happening. But
I think, sorry.
we
continue.
endure. We endure, and I think we, as always, from the beginning, all of this was built by us. They just don't want to admit it.
Hathor hasn't spoken, but the band keeps playing on, and eventually their humming turns into what you would probably recognize as like a slave song, but one that's definitely been lost. And seems to be like listening, not completely checked out, but just hasn't spoken.
I think Ajath notices that and kind of glances over. That's an old one.
Well, you know me, I'm a fan of the classics. It's nice to sing it without lashes.
How do you feel about keeping that stuff in the past? I like embracing it personally. I think it tells a well rounded story. There's nothing better than seeing the rise of an arc, right?
Yeah. I I'm not sure. I can't hear the songs without seeing the faces, and I'm not sure if that's a blessing or not, knowing most of them are gone. But at least the music lives on. It's something. I'm sure it'll be in a few years, I'm sure we'll hear these very same songs parroted back from people who never knew them.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'll be unfortunate. It's nice, though, to keep that kind of spirit alive. I think it's. As long as the meaning doesn't get diluted, that's really where my mind is at. The purpose, right? The value, where it comes from. To me, that's the most important thing, but I'm biased.
Well,
We
that's
have
why I keep my music close. It's easier to protect things you don't let go.
if we have to keep part of this, don't we? Because as we are seeing now, if they can't commodify us, they will commodify our culture.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's exhausting always being on your toes, but at the same time, can I ask you, at this point, what can't we handle?
Can't argue with that.
Resilient, if nothing else.
He throws more money down at the table, just shoves it toward the bartender.
Who takes it with an eye roll for sure, but takes it nonetheless and will bring out more drinks. Hathor, I think the band picks up the hum sort of subconsciously. They
Mhm.
play it and then they blend it in to Go Down Moses, one of the spirituals that is still well known and sounds killer on a big band.
I'll gesture to them kind of subtly, so it doesn't look like I'm trying to get their attention, but just gesture to them and kind of mention to my friends, this is what I want. It's I don't know. I hear this music through them, and this is when I'm able to start thinking of progress, to start thinking beyond the next rainy day. But in any other case, any other scenario, I mean, I spend day in and day out listening to records, to potential. And I listen to white bands bring hollow, they bring empty. I want this. I want the spirit in the room. I don't know if protecting what I do makes me selfish, but if it means I keep this, then it might be worth it. They'll be fine. They figured out how to get here in the first place. They put some string on a piece of wood, and now we're here. That didn't take my help.
When we came here, we brought our music. And with that music, we brought our joy. And even in the darkest of times, that is what made us resilient. That is what kept us together and connected. Even as we lost So many connections. Even if those around us forgot their names, where they came from, because they were ripped from them, torn from them, they still had a deeper connection to this, to the sounds and the rhythms and the joy, even in the darkest of times.
Yeah, I know you're right. Sometimes I just like to let the rain linger before I tell it to move on its way. Can I ask you both something personal?
Always.
Anytime.
Though you might not necessarily get the truth.
Well, that's to be expected with you, but I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this, but I have a son. Um, I my boy Horace, and I was not permitted to raise him, to spend as much time with him as I would have liked. And now we're here. He's doing the things that make him passionate, that move him, using his power in the way he should. And I'm sitting in a bar watching a band and nothing else. So I suppose what I want to ask is, how did you both shake this feeling of being trapped, being pushed away, being in the shadows? How did you come into your own?
I think Ajath sits with this question. And their eyes get very cloudy and misty as they start to kind of well up a bit. And they take their time answering, giving a great deal of thought clearly lost in the memory. I can give the rest of that after a break.
Yes.
Candace, you're a superstar. I was like, wow, I'm settled in. I'm prepared.
Like, I was
And then you hit me
telling-
with the, and we'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break. See you back probably 10, 15,
Okay.
give or
Yeah.
take. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Body and Soul will be back shortly. And welcome back to Body and Soul, a soundtrack to see forever too. When we last left off, our gods were having an important conversation. Hathor had asked how the other two had found themselves, or found their lane, as it were. I believe Ajath was about to respond.
Ajath kind of clears the smoke from their eyes and takes a little cigarette, a hand-rolled cigarette, out of the pocket behind their innermost lapel, like right inside their jacket, and lights it They inhale, take a very long kind of drag, and the smell of cannabis fills the air. They settle for a moment, and he opens his eyes back up and looks at Hathor. It's an eternal struggle. I go from feeling this quiet rebellion in every molecule of my body to recognizing that I'm a god. And what I do, unfortunately, in this world has implications for other people, despite the fact that they're not lasting implications for me. It's difficult to balance what we had with what we need, with what we want. And that's why I'm passionate. That's why I have these. And they pat the stack of papers that they've brought with them, books. To me, the written word, and I know you both know this, it's something that's unchangeable. Once it's down on paper, once people have read it, once people have cataloged it, and they understand, once they see that bigger picture, it's harder to fight against. It's harder to disrespect. They used to think we were animals. Animals! Could animals build great cities? Could animals make such fantastic inventions? They've lasted since the dawn of time. Could animals make music this beautiful? No, of course not. You know what animals do, though? They scrap, and they fight, and they vilify, and they attack one another. We don't do that. We could have been out of there in what, 2-3 years tops, if blood was what we wanted? We wanted more. We always want more. And to me, that's what keeps me waking up every day. That's what keeps me feeling useful at a time when the whole world seems to be making you feel like you're useless. It takes a lot to show up every day and be yourself. It takes a lot even to be a god. I mean, I know our lives aren't as terrible as other people's. But to watch the suffering and watch the pain and only be able to do so much to uplift your people out of that. Seeing, no matter how hard they work, that there's just more danger, more tricks, more hoops to jump through. Some days it feels really, really pointless. But that lasting joy, that lasting love, that heart that we bring to everything we got, the uprising of our people, seeing those changes as time goes on. I mean, you wouldn't think 30, 40 years ago these people were slaves, that they had nothing, were thrown out into freedom with nothing, had absolutely zero, zilch, to get ahead. Some of these people are working on their 3rd, 4th, 5th round of their generational wealth, watching it flush itself down the drain. In 50 years, these people will be living in squalor. We came with nothing, and we've gotten here. So to me, I'm playing the long game. I'm trying to see what the future holds, and I'm trying to defend what we've got as best as I fucking can.
Anansi grins and looks at Hathor and says, I think you described the pain that is part of the experience that we have in this world, in this new world, that countless mothers have never known their sons. Countless brothers have never known their sisters. Families separated and shattered and scattered. Connections lost to each other, to where they came from. But there is memory. There is always memory there and connection back to something deeper. And though things get dark, and though things get ugly, as we were bought and soul as we watched the people who were our charges become objects. But then they learned to play the game. And when we learned to play the game, they changed the rules. They always changed the rules. But even in all that, we are able to share a connection, unspoken, but it's there always. A connection of a shared experience that sometimes we can't put into words, but we know, everyone knows what we've been through. And that connection of what we've all lost in some degree, I think is what helps us and strengthens us to make it so that we are unbroken. They might be able to individually remove some of us, but as a people, they cannot break us.
There's never a harder time to be a god of beauty and fertility and even love than when you're watching your own people beaten, subjugated, erased to where they have to fight for these gifts that I give them that are theirs. And I think after so many years of fighting to give them these gifts, to remind them that there are things worth pushing forward for, that there is a point to resistance, that there is a point to renaissance. I think I lost it. I lost myself. I lost the path. But I think here, and kind of look around the club and try to remember even just the previous night, the feeling of a dance in a room full of spirit. I just sort of like lean back a little bit further against the bar. I think I want to do this. Music, connection, spirit, something that persists, something where the rules can't change, where even if it's copied and chopped and distributed, the feeling is still in the room. I love what I do. But I think if I hear another young Black woman pray to me weeping because her skin is not as light as a girl that she saw passing on the street, I fear I may withdraw. So I'm going to pivot. I am going to take a page from your books. And I'm going to embrace song.
That's important. They can whip the musician. They cannot whip the music. They can lynch a body, but they cannot put a noose around harmony. And through that, we transfer who and what we are to those who come after. And that is a connection that no policeman's club, no round of gunfire can extinguish.
Your energy, too. You have to understand, Hathor, you're more than the sum of your parts. You see a humble person when you look in the mirror, don't you?
Yes, I would. That's who I am.
Sibling, no. You may be humble because you act humble, and that's fair. But take it from me, from an outsider's perspective. That's not what I see. There's something inside of you that you don't recognize that carries through in this music. What I love about writing, it doesn't matter who's writing it. If it's good, it makes you feel something. And that's what changes minds. But music goes a step further. The written word, it's alone. It floats out there in silence, in your mind. Maybe out loud if somebody speaks it to you, if you're being read a story, if someone's reciting their poetry. But you're on speakers. You're out loud. You're on Victrolas. You're in clubs. You float out over the night into the streets. You spill out of clubs and bars. You're in people's homes. Even a person that can't read can listen to music. And at the end of the day, that's more powerful than you think it might be. Music changes hearts. Yes, words change hearts. It's important to catalog what's going on in the world. History, as you know, is part of my specialty. But music is something that transcends. And to pull ourselves up even further, we've got to change hearts and minds. We've already begun it. We've already started doing it. It was my turn when people wrote down their experiences, cataloged their journeys. I hate that fucking Uncle Tom's Cabin. I swear to God, it came across my desk. I took one look at it and I said, ugh, are you fucking serious? This is from an abolitionist. Sure, this is from someone who thinks we're good and we deserve better. We had to settle. I wasn't signing up for it, but I was glad it was made. It changed minds. It changed hearts. And what I do will never go away. What Anasi does will never go away. What you do will never go away. And even right now, when perhaps people don't have time for the old ways, they don't have time to necessarily read about everybody's pains and sufferings, no matter how glorious they are. And let me tell you, there's glorious things afoot. The music, even the act of copying the music, even the act of taking it over, it changes you a little bit inside. It does something to you. You can't stay on the wrong side of things and make the music work. It's got to change you in order to sound good, in order to be amazing, in order to inspire people. And that's where you come in. This is your time. This is your time. So run with it. Take it. Go as far as you can with it. And we'll be there to support you, to pass you new things, to help you discover new musicians. I mean, already, this Duke Ellington,
Isn't
wow.
it great?
I mean, outstanding. I was blown away. Every time I hear it, it's like, I don't know, the sun shines from inside of me and out. Even the sad songs. I mean, the emotions it carries, the passion it conveys. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. And I know that from that is going to come even more interesting things. You hear these people talking about it, right? These white people, critical of it. Oh, that's not classical. As though we didn't have classical musicians. As though you know who was one of us. They don't like admitting that he was. But he was one of us. We know that. But jazz, it's the most simple act of rebellion. And these people can't get enough of it. So let's keep flooding the market. Let's keep smoothing that into popular culture. Make it something that anybody can enjoy. Something fashionable. Because those old people, they're not the future. But these young kids, it's all they want. Those flappers, oh my God. The flappers, let me tell you. I see these girls walk by, flat chests, little bobbed haircuts. I'm like, yeah, really? And I look at them, and I just wonder, what are your kids going to listen to? How are your kids going to upset you the way that you're upsetting your parents right now? The future is going to be big, bold, uncontestable. And that's you, Hathor.
I don't know about that, but I would like to try. Anansi, I'm going to call in a favor.
Ah, I like favors.
I have a little place, recording studio. It's technically not mine and technically not open and technically hasn't been putting out records. But I would love for it to, on paper, be open and putting out records. Do you think you could make that happen?
Oh, I think we could make something happen there.
Okay.
I think we always can. I think I think it's important to remember what our sister said, that there's so much there. I'm glad she mentioned Uncle Tom's cabin, because it's important that we remember that while there were those who did not want us to be enslaved, that did not mean that they wanted us to be equal.
Of course.
I think it's important to remember that there are that we are not new. They just change the stories so that we are forgotten. That the Joseph Bolognas of the world, the Alexander Dumas of the world are forgotten. But they will gladly retell our stories that we tell. They will gladly take our music. They will gladly take what we have. And that is what they fear, you see. They fear that we will be in control of these things that they love. And so they have to seize them for themselves, take them from us, and have control over them, because if they take our music and they are loud and boisterous, then that's acceptable. But if we are loud and boisterous, then we are out of line. I mean, for crying out loud, have you been in a white church? It's like it's a funeral.
Unsettlingly quiet. All the time.
Always, even during a something that's supposed to be a celebration, it's like they're having a funeral. Not that our funerals look like that back before we came here, but such is the way of things. And they fear that joy that we bring to music, that joy that we bring to entertainment. They fear our boldness, and they fear us being boisterous, and that makes them want to control us all the more. And so if you have some project that is loud and proud, let's do it.
You've given me an idea. I think what's crucial to the white church that you've touched on is that they've done so well that they wait to be punished. They're always waiting for the hammer of sin. They're always waiting for the moment where they're struck down because this divine revelation has occurred that they have done some unconscionable wrong. So they live in fear of that wrong, where we live in celebration of every new day that we're given, and every new opportunity and new voice and new chance to embrace the freedom that has always truly been ours. So I'm going to get in touch with a few churches, and I think we're going to make some noise.
I like making noise.
I am going to hop up from the bar, and I'm going to go over to Duke and his band. And I'm going to do the same thing I did last night. I'm going to whisper some stuff that's just I mean, even if you were right next to me, it would be unintelligible, but it's like I'm speaking into the artist's soul. And I'm going to slip him one of my business cards. And it really is just like you can tell when you look at it as it kind of passes under the stage lights and into his hand. Hathor 100% sat down and very nicely hand printed with ink and a pen these business cards. They are not professionally done. And it will kind of just pass it to him and then come back over. And is definitely has a look like the air has kind of lifted in the room. It's no longer an elephant's foot on the neck in terms of the vibes in here. Something has shifted in Hathor, and it may take time to germinate to its full potential, but maybe the margins are starting to get a bit bigger. Maybe she's not suffocating anymore.
Incredible. I think as you all were speaking, the band was playing Misty. A low, somber but beautiful song. And then after you speak to Duke, I think they really begin to play the beginnings of Take the A Train. It's not finished, but you can see them working on it in them. And I think we're going to move forward. We're in the 20s. We're going to go through the 20s, past the Great Depression, into the 30s, specifically 1935. You all have done your good work. You have bolstered the culture, flow of Black Americans. There have been ups and downs, highs and lows when it's come to Black culture. But so much has come from the Renaissance in Harlem. Some good and some bad. But now here we are in the 30s. The Great Depression has left much of the world in a state, and especially here in America, certain areas weren't as lucky. Harlem being one of those. And there's some unrest, but there's strength. You all have seen to that. While it is not the gleaming cultural hub that it once was, the heartbeat is still there, and you all keep time. We come back to the time. It's May 1935. There's a dime store. The young man is just in the store and he's seen a penknife that he thought was interesting. He doesn't have the scratch for it, so he tries to take it and he is caught. And the store owners call the police. And unfortunately, news spreads and very quickly there's a crowd outside of this store. The store owners are concerned about what might happen to the boy if, or to them, if the boy's arrested. So they just have him slip out the back. Tensions have been pretty high. Black people of Harlem have been getting the short end of the stick for a while. And this incident, where many think that the poor boy has been killed by the police, not something we're familiar with in modern day at all. It's like a powder keg. And the city, well, Harlem, erupts. So, in the chaos, in the anger, what would you all do? We'll start with Anansi.
Anansi would definitely be moving amongst the crowd and whispering in ears and reminding people that we don't own any of this, that these stores and that everyone shops at, that these buildings that everyone lives in are not ours, and that they are taking money from people in the community, and that money is not going back into the community. It's going elsewhere and lining the pockets of people down on Fifth Avenue and elsewhere in the country, and subtly trying to remind everyone of the deep, deep disparity, particularly in the midst of the depression, that something is very, very broken. Something is awry with the way we engage with a country, because we're working in the factories, we're shining the shoes, we're carrying the luggage and doing the labor. But for so many of the children of Africa, they are not seeing any other than a small trail of crumbs as benefit for any of that labor.
I want you to give me a roll.
Yes.
Tell me on it. Tell me why you should go with that.
I think that Anansi is going to. And I think I have a stunt here. I might be able to use. Yeah, so I am going to be using I want to use face in the crowd here as a stunt to blend into the crowd and to be just another voice in the crowd, and use that as a basis for just being just a voice of the people.
Okay. Incredible.
Let me see. So I got a mediocre on the roll, and I have the skill itself is good, and then I get a +2 for facing the crowd.
Okay.
On top of that, so
fantastic. Your words spur the crowd on. The riot breaks out in Harlem. A couple of stores have very quickly put up signs to let the rioters know that they're black owned or they employ black people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people listen. Others, however, are not swayed. And Harlem is alight with outrage. And your words sink in deep. And they drive their hands to show that they will not stand for it any longer. They demand satisfaction. And, well, they're going to see it found. Ajath,
I think Ajath is torn. His way is one of words and diplomacy and meeting in the middle. The fight that they fight is with pen and paper and with money. And here, neither of those really seem like any kind of remedy. And they see the waves of discord that are being smoothed into a finer point by Anansi. People organizing in the disorganization of a riot. Understanding that more police are coming. More people are coming to defend these businesses, to cause harm to these people who are publicly acknowledging and embracing their deep sense of sorrow, rather than a crowd of people that are a mob that are trying to create damage for their own purposes. And I think as they look out at all of this, they're tempted to use their power of oration, the written word spoken aloud, coming up with that on the spot. But their eyes kind of dart back and forth like the police cars in the distance and the people in front of them, trying to decide who best would receive their message. And I think they're also pretty steeped in their own feelings of sorrow and hurt and disappointment. This beautiful place that was a safe haven now kind of ripped and torn from the people that deserve to be there. And I think she finds herself uptown, around the corner from where the bulk of this is taking place, trying to grease hands and palms with the money that she has and speaking to anyone who will listen. She knows that she can't get the police, right? A lot of them are immigrants new to this country. And the best way to fit into this country is to hate what the majority hates, even when you're hated yourself. So they know that their words will fall on deaf ears there. They can't prescribe caution to people who don't even think that they should have a voice, or who resent the fact that their voice in this country is louder than theirs. But they do know that there are some people whose minds they can change. And I think that's how they spend their time. Going to the homes and gathering places of people that they suspect might be either on the fence about the racial disparity and the way that things are kind of unrolling themselves um, in Harlem, including politicians, including um, other people that have money, bankers, anybody that can hopefully maybe not diffuse the situation because it's not one that can be diffused,
Right. Right.
but can at least soften the blow when it all dies down and the morning shines on this once again. And I think
Uh,
I would use my stunt demagogue when
okay.
speaking to these people
Okay.
to get them to recognize that the way that black people are being treated, the decision of the owners of that store to show compassion and mercy in the face of what largely was an innocent crime, um, is something that should be exercised throughout by other people as well, and that law enforcement needs to take a look at itself. We're in the North, we are not in the South, we are not vicious like they are. We have a chance to dial that back. And as the greatest city in the world, we should be leading that change, not following.
I think it should be stated uh, that you were at the height of the Renaissance, one of the movers and shakers. So even though it is diminished, you still know the people of the city, and you know for a fact that your words reach the mayor, they reach LaGuardia, which is good, especially with all of the palms you've greased, because you know that by the end of this, there are 125 people that are arrested. People are injured, 3 are dead. But it's quite possible that without your help, it could have been a lot worse. Hathor.
Hathor, during all of this, I think so they've maintained their record business, even as appointments start to dwindle and it's less that people are coming to them and more they're coming for people as the sparkle and the energy of the Renaissance starts to die out. And when it comes to this specific day, Hathor does not initially appear when the crowds start to gather out of grief, out of fear, out of a number of things. But when the violence starts, when it's the middle of the night and there's screaming and the smashing of glass and a thrumming tension of fear, Hathor is there. She sits with mothers, with wives, with sisters, with daughters, and she calms them and she soothes them for those who have been arrested, for telling them that the missing will return home. She does her best to slip into where the injured are as a nurse, as a doctor for a moment, and there's always that squint of, that's not right. But just to put eyes on these people, on this place that's given her a second lease on immortal life. She sings rites for the dead. And when it comes time to clean up the streets, because no one else will but the people who've been forced into the situation in the first place, they reawaken old songs, some lost, some not, and is in the front of the line with a push broom, hair tied out of their face, and leading quietly. Doesn't necessarily have maybe the pull of words or anything, but Hathor, I like to think, has become a quiet beating heart of this community. Just in knowing people and the sons of people and the daughters of people and granddaughters and being invited over for dinner. Um, yeah, I think they're front of the line with a push broom in a homemade flower sack dress that no one would dare wear outside because it's improper to wear a house dress outdoors. But it was made for her, and she accepts her gifts. Um, she knows she can't stop this, and she knows her passion may only make it worse. So she makes sure that she's available to pick up the pieces and to help knit what's left of the community back together, if such a thing is possible.
As many of our Black mothers, Black women have done. There's so many instances like this.
Mhm.
You are the song in their hearts, the beat that keeps them going, the one that keeps the home so that those that were out have something to come home
Knowing that there are those that are going to be providing succor and comfort to those in this time. Anansi is an agent of chaos, and when the violence starts, Anansi will be there fanning the flames, knowing that as there is a need for comfort, that that the nature of his children and their experiences here in America sadly requires these pressure valves from time to time, dotted throughout history, where the rage builds up to a crescendo and overflows the pot and it washes out, and that is an awful thing and a deadly thing and a destructive thing, but a sadly necessary thing, because the pressure otherwise would just continue to build, and it needs to go somewhere. It needs to be bled off. And so he will act as an agent to keep to help that happen, to bring about that expulsion of all of the rage and the pain that has been pent up, but at the same time being a a multifaceted, many-legged creature. He will also direct those who have gone through that to those places where they can find his sisters and get that comfort once their rage has been assuaged, at least for now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Hathor is going as far as possible to make sure that the laces that hold this place together are kept tight. Um, there is no need for sleep, and that makes me the best person to take on the job. So I am in kitchens until late nights, laughing with people until they are distracted from the missing presence in their home. I'm bringing the food that I'm gifted in exchange for that to somebody else who doesn't have enough to make food for that week, whose main source of income is locked up sleeping on the concrete for who knows how long. We hope not long. I am helping with Black businesses that have had their glass blown out. I'm picking up business as usual for the artists and the poets who suddenly have a burden of things to say after witnessing so much. I'm stopping by my son's office and then I keep walking. I am a face in the crowd, but I am also around. And I think anyone that knows that they need me or just someone like me, even if they don't know who I am, they know where to find me.
I think.
I will add real quickly that occasionally in the midst of the chaos, some goods and items of questionable ownership might end up on Hathor's doorstep.
I 100% stopping, looking down at them, like, and then taking it inside. And I think at least at one point during this very long night, there is the sound of just maybe 20 or so people just singing, and it just echoes quietly through the streets. You just see, like, if you were to imagine a brick apartment building, one of the top floors is lit, all the windows are open, and the voices are just drifting out. At some point during the day, a fire hydrant mysteriously opens, and the kids are distracted from missing some of their parents, from the mothers not being able to be emotionally available, and fathers physically not present. I will take my box of dubious goods and I will distribute my dubious goods.
I think
Just,
to that.
sorry, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh.
My goodness, one of you. One of you go.
I don't know.
Does the work of trying to take some of their wealth that's inherent to them, that they seemingly have no trouble finding, and tries to use as much of it to bail out the people that are in jail and get them home quickly. But the hoops that they have to jump through for him to gain access to these people, to be able to talk to these people, to be taken seriously when they drop the money off, the ability to speak to someone and actually be able to get the work done is something that they find themselves surprisingly struggling with. They have the funds, they have the capabilities, but the system is working so hard against people of color that even with their seemingly limitless resources, it still takes quite a bit of effort and quite a bit of time to return those people to their homes.
I think you would have seen a lot of you, especially in the heat of the riot, Shango, out with the crowd. You also know that Shango has been around, certainly in the Americas. It is hearsay, and by that I mean you all definitely know that one John Henry was but an aspect of Shango, who he hoped to give a figure for those of the Black working class to look fondly of, to see that strength and that determination. And you see him here in the riot. Hathor, you see Oya. She is Norisha, who is both of storms and the wind, but also she is still a mother. So she is the anger that those mothers feel, but that determination that's set in their jaw as they keep it together. She nods at you as you pass like ships in the night.
I will as we pass, I'll just kind of reach out for her forearm and just kind of like let our arms slide off of each other. And while she goes to unleash, I will go to the mothers that are already unleashing and I will show them the storm and I will stand by them as they feel. Stand in her wake.
Absolutely. The two of you work so well together. And Ayath, you are making sure that things get done. You are the resources that sees that as many of those people get home, get free. And Anansi, you keep things in a controlled chaos. As I mentioned, there were only 3 deaths. You've seen where it has and can be much worse. So I think when the dust has settled, when Mayor LaGuardia has created a council to look into this, to see where the fire started, I think you all are once again together. I'll say, let we'll let we'll let him be random. Ayath, where would you all be meeting after the night?
I feel like it would be a public place to be seen by the people. Maybe Central Park or I don't know, a smaller cafe or something like that in the neighborhood. Somewhere that the energy and the warmth and the reassurance that gatherings of this magnitude can kind of create, all of us bringing our energies and our gifts kind of to one meeting point, can be widely felt.
You know, I like it being Central Park because, well, before it was Central Park, it was Seneca Village. So I think it's fitting that you have a meeting there after what's happened in Harlem.
I think as Iath walks up, they look beat. Their brown skin usually has a radiance to it and a glow to it. Um, Otherworldly in certain lights. They try to keep it toned down so that they don't unnerve their fellow humans, the other humans that are there. And he has heavy eyes, um, more deeply set than normal. Skin looking a bit dull, steps slow, a bit more plodding, but still with an upright spine, head held high, chin up, eyes forward. And they take a seat on a bench and wait for the others.
I definitely approach late. um, Definitely just as exhausted. Um, have changed out of the flower sack dress. But there's just something quieter about Hathor, distracted, maybe. And as they walk through the park up to, you would probably see them a little ways away as they approach, like the trees all sort of move and shake in a wave that follows as they walk. And they just seem dim, thoughtful. They have maybe oil stains on their cheeks, grime under their fingernails from the broom, maybe a splinter, like a visible splinter or two from the old brooms that never seem to get replaced. And we'll just come take a seat next to you, smelling of faintly of last night's dinner and outside and sweat. And just listen to the trees and the birds as they suddenly kick up just a little bit. There's music and everything.
Anansi will approach as always, quietly, and taking in on the way the damages that were done, predominantly to those businesses that were not owned by the Black community. Although, as in any case like this, some of the Black businesses took some damage as well. But the damage to the businesses, Nancy takes in the sign of these as sort of a bit of, even if it's not in actuality an actual balancing of things, it's a sign of a clear sign of the inequity, and considers that as he kind of slides into this place that seems apart from all that destruction. And he will walk up and, with a bit of a smile, a bit of that always present, twinkle in his eye, he will greet his sisters with one of the many Yoruba greetings, Ikare sisters.
And to you, brother. Our other brother was in high demand. Did the work. Am I right?
Oh, yes.
His rage was felt.
It was his night, as it sadly is from time to time in this place.
We all have our necessities.
Indeed.
Can't argue with that.
Oh, Bunali, one of the many gods of death, but also justice, vengeance, a righter of wrongs. He was absolutely busy during this riot.
Recovery takes
Indeed.
time. I don't know how much more of this I can take. It feels like every step gets heavier, more leaden. Every day a
And
little bit longer, a little bit harder, a little more exhausting.
mm, yes.
Hathor just nods along, and her gaze drifts over maybe a little bit further into the park. A young couple walking by, black couple. The young man has a giant black eye. She saw him get it. Just kind of, again, her usual, present, but not commenting, just listening to both of you.
I think this was, as other events of this type have been, I think this was just practice. Because unfortunately, we live in a place with a system that was not built to include us in any other fashion other than to be subservient. And because of that, I fear that we cannot make the system, remake it, without it being torn down and rebuilt. And sad to say that these little flare ups that we have that happen from time to time, they are just signs of something greater that I think is in our future.
I agree. I've seen it. This dawn that seems to be coming. Things can't go on like this forever. I doubt it will ever be perfect. But there's more for us than I think anyone suspects. And as long as we keep an eye, and we keep educating, I think we'll see it come sooner rather than later. So much of
You,
this needs to change.
Yes.
you, can I use a stunt here?
Done. Done.
I have psychologist, which I can reduce consequences by one level of severity with through my empathy skill. I would love it if Hathor isn't going to say much throughout this. I think as a mother, as a representation of motherhood, and just having been right at the center, not that you both weren't, but having been right at the center of everything that happened in sort of the aftercare department, doesn't have a lot to comment on in terms of progress when they're coming to terms with the fact that it's always going to hurt like this after. But I would love it if, as we talk, you both described yourselves as like a little bit tired, a little bit rough around the edges, that just listening to them, the birds kick up a little, the breeze gets a little nicer, the sun hits just right, and maybe their glow starts to come back to them a little, their energy, whether by catharsis and just talking all of it out or remembering something positive, that just the power of us sitting here and hearing each other and sharing the space is healing.
I think absolutely. And I think what's moreover, because Hathor's done this more than a few times,
This is my shtick.
I think I think at some point she starts humming.
Mhm.
Just a low, simple tune. Uh, I think that it sort of permeates. It's not distracting as you all talk, but it's in the background, even in your mind. So it lingers and it stays in the conversation, even when they stop humming.
There are snatches of silence from Ajath, watching the people walk by, seeing that aftermath and the consequences on their walk to meet up with everyone in their neighborhood, watching people board up windows, people sweeping glass out from the insides of their businesses, people open for business despite what just happened, serving their community still with a smile in the face of so much hurt and pain and suffering, so much distrust, trusting one another in the wake of all of that, and showing just impossible resilience. They take in that humming and that emotion and that energy from Hathor. And the longer they kind of sit there, the glow starts to return to their skin. Their eyes brighten a bit. And they look to Anansi. Do you really have to edge everybody? Push them along. I know that's your way. I know that's how you do things. And that's fair. But also, I have protest poems. I have works of art. There are things, there's other ways to explore these territories, to seek these answers, do you really think that the push and pull, you and Ogbu, you think that that's the way? You think that gets
I,
things done?
I think the answer is yes and no. I think that to get through what our people must face in this country, I think we need both. I think that there will certainly be a time when we will need, well, to be fair, always we will need the joy. We will need the music. We will need the inspiration because that is what will carry us through. But there are also times where it becomes so much the rage and the anger and the feeling of helplessness that no matter how well we play the game, that even when we show that we can play the game as well as they can, if not better, when we play by their rules, when we fight in their army, when we compose music in their style, when we build buildings as they do, when we become engineers and doctors and all of these other things, when we invent and create, they still do not allow us a seat at their table. And that reflects back on our people, and the rage builds up. And sometimes we just need to turn that valve a little bit, and that rage has to go somewhere. I wish it was not so. I wish that we could go back to a time when it was just the music and just the singing. And when, not to say that we did not have our wars and our squabbles, but not on the scale that these colonizers have brought. I mean, look at this great war, they called it, as if there is such a thing. Look at the destruction and what was flattened and what was destroyed. And we certainly had conflicts, but not on that scale. Their power of destruction is truly frightening, even to a god. And so sometimes we need these little things, sad as they may be. But I have hope that one day, as you say, cannot last forever, that we will be able to put this away, not need these things anymore.
Ajath nods. And they kind of take in your words. When you mention the valve and the release of that pressure, they smile a bit and their teeth seem a little sharper than normal. And I think as you finish, he nods his head in agreement. That makes sense. Sometimes fighting fire with fire does make things better. Especially if that's the language that the people you're fighting against understand.
They understand it well.
They're afraid of us without the violence, so good on you to think that the violence would maybe push us a little bit further along. That respect is something that we're trying to earn, but sometimes you gotta take it.
Yes, they certainly have not proven that they will give it to us of their own accord.
I've been working on some. Few people I see here and there. It's not just our people that know about what I do and the gifts that I offer. Education is something else, and people are starting to notice. I've had some interesting proposals from some individuals. I think that maybe, the seeds are planted. I just don't know what they're going to grow into.
It will
This
be
makes
interesting to
sense.
see.
Seeing Hathor kind of regress into herself a bit, Ajath looks at her and places their hand on top of Hathor's hands. You take good care of us, you know. But who's taking care of you?
I think Hathor just kind of gives your hand a squeeze and then looks between the both of you. Suddenly very emotional. I think I learned a lot these past few days, these past few decades. Taking care of people is what I do. And I will be taken care of eventually. If not by someone, then by the communities that we foster. I would rather see Harlem thriving again, or just communities of artists and with access, Black people with access, with parks for their children to play at, people whose time is valued. I would rather see that and feel as though this was worth it, however many years that it takes, than stop to consider myself in the midst of it. I am here because of these people. I have a place because of these people. We are not much without them. I would rather devote my time to taking care of you, to taking care of them, and I don't know, that's my paved future. That's my surety. Harlem could be cobblestone, could be rubble in a few years. But I know these people won't go anywhere, and I know you won't go anywhere. So that's where I plant my roots.
I think as they move their hand away from yours, you find your hands full of a pomegranate, some almonds, and a stick of incense.
I will take them and just kind of cradle them close. And I think the smell of the pomegranate and the incense does naturally find its way around us, even without the pomegranate not being sliced, the incense not being lit. There's just a cozy envelopment. And I do think Hathor then looks out back at the park. I have decided I want to see this through. And I don't know how, I don't know in what way. But I hear you talk about fire and fighting with fire. And there's something there for me. Music allows me to be there to pick up the pieces because music will always heal you when you are down. But I think I also want to be there when the fire is lit. I'm still figuring it out.
I think I was going to say, I think too that a yam would find itself mixed in with the pomegranate and the incense with a shrug from Anasi. Just
I love it. I love it.
I think you've spoken quite a bit about taking care of others. And I think leaving yourself behind in that you do sort of hear, whether or not it's in your mind or actually aloud, you can't really tell. But you can't pour from an empty cup. However, the music of the world around you seems to thrum with your declaration. You intend to see this through. You want to be there to pick up the pieces, but you'll also be there when the fire started. All of these ring true. And where 2 or 3 are gathered, like you have now, mighty things can happen. So the two of you feel that as well. You're in this together. And while you may not know what life has in store for you, you know that you'll be united in those efforts. And I know we're technically supposed to go to a 4, but that seems like a really good place.
Guys, we have something really special here. Can I just say that while we're still
So
live?
beautiful.
Like,
It's
oh my God.
incredible. I
So
have
beautiful.
to remember that I have to be a part of this as well. I am running it. I do need to be involved. But y'all just start. I'm like, yeah, no, this is great. Keep going. No, please continue. Say more. Say more.
Why
right
are you
now.
asking me if you could use a skill? Just talk to each other.
What do you mean? like you said that you were. Can I do this thing? And I went. Why are you asking me for it?
What?
Oh,
Go.
I'm the storyteller. It's fine. thank you, everyone who came to see us. Thank you for everyone who's joined us on this little journey. This will be going for 3 more episodes. So do come back next Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel. Um, I think we're gonna go around the table, give outros to my incredible cast. We'll start. We're gonna randomize it because I'll do what I want. Uh, Stefan, we'll start with you, bud.
All right. Yes, I am Stefan. I was playing Anasi and having a blast. You can find me on Twitter at Umbral Night Umbral _ Night X, and lurking around other places as Umbral Night X as well. And this was powerful, powerful stuff, and a fun time for me. For those who don't know, I'm a professor of history, and particularly some sub-Saharan African history and African American history, as well as pop culture history. And so this is a fun ride. So glad to be here, and with this cast is blowing my mind, and this GM blowing my mind. Amazing.
Fantastic. I am so honored to have you as a part of this cast. I'm over the moon with it. We'll go to Liz next.
Hey everybody, I'm Dauntless or Liz. I am a TTRPG performer, forever GM, variety streamer for Team Neat Dude. I do stuff. I'm also available for hire as a professional GM if that's something that you're interested in. And I am also so grateful to be here. I'm gonna get personal. Bring it in, chat. Bring it in. I recently went through a pretty big surgery that ended up having some very difficult complications, and I wasn't really feeling like myself. This is the first TTRPG I've done in months, and being able to be upright and present in front of a camera, and I feel like I just got part of myself back. This cast is so special. This game is so special. I'm really grateful to all of you. I'm excited to have Mark with us next week. Um, I really hope chat enjoys the premise and the concept. I'm grateful to all of you for being here through the ride. And I just want to see where this goes. Like I'm strapped in. I also forget I'm here and I have to like do stuff because I just could listen to you guys talk forever. It's so this is magic. And I don't think you can replicate this ever. This. I'm grateful.
It's been absolutely amazing. I'm I'm so glad that we waited. Having you here has been absolutely incredible. I knew I made the right choice, and I stand 10 toes in that.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing to be flexible so I could get my beaten ass upright and looking correct.
Wasn't even a question.
Thank you.
Never a question, not even once. Candace.
Hello, I'm Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. It has been an absolute joy to be in this game. I have been excited about it since the second that Q told me about it 5 months ago at this point. I have just been champing at the bit this entire time, going into gremlin mode. I am a professional TTRPG player and performer. I'm also a professional voice actor at this point. I'm excited to say that. I also am a writer. I do some sensitivity consulting as well. You can hear more of me across a bunch of places. Please check my socials at the Candace Marie on Twitter and Blue Sky, at Candace the Magnificent everywhere else. I have some performances I'm going to try to do on TikTok of black music for this month. I mean, for always, but specifically, especially for this month. To also get personal, I'm someone who kind of clandestinely celebrates Black History 365 days a year at white tables. Almost every character that I make is based on someone in our history. Sometimes I take a piece of the name. Sometimes I take a part of the lore or the history or the real facts and truths of that person. But I try to put that in because it just helps make me feel more connected to my culture and my history and my people. Growing up in a pretty much all white community, that was a struggle for me. I did not even have any kind of representation until I was much older. So it's been really wonderful to be able to actually bring my whole self to this table and to not have to worry about what I'm saying or how it's going to be received or try to explain myself to anybody. Um, the trust level at this table is out of this world. I don't think I've ever felt this much genuine and organic trust with any other group that I've played with. And the fact that this is my first time gaming with Stefan, my second time gaming, well, technically not second. This is my second campaign with Liz. I have done other things with Liz that were like one shots. And I mean, Q, you and I think have played maybe 3 times. So all of us are fairly new to one another, and to be able to produce something this meaningful and with this much depth and sincerity is mind-boggling. And I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of all of us, and I'm super proud of Q. Um, and I'm grateful that Chaotic Wholesome has this running on their channel because they are fantastic partners as well. Um, Thank you to the chat for being here and for coming out and watching us and taking part in this story. And thank you to
Yeah,
Q
can I
for
just
making a
say,
beautiful world play.
the
So
chat,
beautifully.
you guys have been so nice and supportive. You
Yes.
know, I really appreciate you guys. Like, just know that that is so welcoming and great, especially for a story like this. Now, I really appreciate you guys. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on this journey with us. And yes, also thank you to Q for organizing the journey for us to come on.
Yes.
No, don't wave at me. What is this? Don't wave dismissively. We
Nothing.
don't
No,
do that
no,
here.
no. I'm literally fine. No, it's it's
Don't
Candace
literally
you
will
fine.
wave at me.
Candace will tell you that does not fly here. You can't wave at me while I'm giving you a compliment. Accept the compliment.
No, you get in trouble for stuff like that. But you,
You
No,
you
you're
get in
okay.
trouble. You will get in
you
trouble
do.
with me.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to. Don't. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
I am 100% teasing you. It's fine. I also get nervous when people are nice to me.
um, so I guess it should be me. Uh, Hi, I'm Q. You can find me out and about on the internet at Midnight Inc. That's midnight underscore INQ. Q is my name. I'm sure you get it. I'm doing a whole lot of a whole lot, sort of all over the place. I've got a couple of shows on Live from the Apocalypse. You can see me on the class reunion. I'm doing um, some guest spots on that bad boy. I'm also in Redacted. We just did that. It's a psychological uh, thriller horror game. I'm also doing some things with Entropy Emporium. Tonight, actually, I'll be there playing as the wizard for the Our Wandering Home game. It is very Ghibli inspired. It's fantastic. GM list, it's my first time. Um, yeah, I've got other things, but I'm not going to talk anymore. It's been a time. I'm having such an incredible time with all of these people. Also, shout out to Mark J. Mark J.
Yeah.
Had family obligations. We do not fault him for that at all. See them next week. Which come back, see us next week. Same, like I said, same bad time, same bad channel.
Mhm.
Thank you all so very much. And until next time, peace.